Hello everybody and welcome back to Benjamin Magnus Plays Europa Universalis 4 tutorial format. That's what we're going to go with. Last episode we went over, we thought about trying to get a personal union over Bohemia. Unfortunately, we missed, they had an infant like 8 months before I could press the claim, and it just didn't work out. So we went and picked on someone smaller. We went over combat in detail, sieges in detail, general making of war, declaring war, and the peace deal after the fact. Now, something interesting happening. I gave all of the land I took, these 3 provinces, to Moldavia here, and I got a little notification saying they are not going to be my March anymore. Now, March is just a more militant vassal. They don't give you money, but they provide more troops. Now, I didn't know that making a vassal more powerful, a March more powerful, would make them a regular vassal. I didn't know that that was actually a thing, and that's a really good, it's a really good point, because I've done this exact strategy before. Declared war on this guy, gave it to this guy, and that was not a thing. The game changes often, and a lot of times it's little things that don't come up very often, just little tweaks here and there, so something you wouldn't really notice. So while a year ago doing that caused no issue, now it's saying, hey, this March is too strong. You got to keep those guys small. Very interesting. It's probably relegated by the size of your territory. I would imagine it compares your development to your March's development. But anyway, I think we're going to try to be a little bit more peaceful this episode. We're going to talk about ideas, and we're going to talk about peacefully absorbing a vassal into Poland. So first thing we're going to do is unlock our first idea group. Now, when we got to Tech 5 on admin, and if you hover right here, it tells you when you unlock these at what tech level, so 5's the first, you get to pop an idea group. And each of these is a group of ideas which give you modifiers to your country in some way. So we have all admin stuff, all Diplo stuff, and all military stuff. Now, right now, I have an admin gain of 10 power points and a military gain of only 4. So taking a military one, because each of these cost nearly 400 power points, plus minus modifiers, it would take a long time to get through, and then I would start falling behind on military tech because I wouldn't have those power points to spend. So that leaves me with the idea of going Diplo or admin. So why don't we take a look at the admin list and the diplomatic list here and see which ones we could definitely rule out. That's always a good way of deciding which ones you want, is to process of elimination. So we cross this whole area off, say we don't want a military idea. It'd be great to have a more powerful military. We just don't have the PowerPoint gain right now to support that. So what can we cross off here now? Espionage ideas have always been really, really on the weak side. They're a lot of fun in multiplayer games, but a lot of this stuff is a little underpowered or doesn't work that great in single player. Some of it's cool, like cost to fabricate claims. We fabricated claims down. Well, we fabricated claims up here. We tried to do it down here. Base cost is 20, and then after that, I think it's like 25, 30, and then it goes up. Every single one on the same nation costs more than the last one, so that reduces the cost there. Privateering and embargoing, that could be nice, but that's a lot of fun. That's much more fun in multiplayer games. Yearly corruption down, but I don't have any corruption right now. And then right at the end, rebel support efficiency. You could support rebels in somebody else's country. Not really my thing. Now, I can tell you right now, I'm not doing a lot of trading. So we're going to knock espionage off. I'm probably not going to be too good for us. We're going to knock trade ideas off. We're going to knock off exploration because we're not doing a lot of trading. Can't explore because we don't have access to the ocean. Maritime we can knock off. So that leaves us in the Diplo tree of looking at Diplo ideas and influence ideas. Now, influence, income from vassals, I have those. Yearly prestige, chance of a new heir, that's pretty cool. Diplomatic annexation cost, that's nice. That means what you can peacefully integrate a subject into your country. It happens 25% faster. Aggressive expansion impact. We looked at aggressive expansion during our war down there, so less aggressive expansion. That's pretty cool. Diplomatic reputation. Basically just how people look at you from afar. Gives you a little bit of boost with foreign relations. Extra diplomat and Diplo travel time. You saw whenever I sent someone somewhere, it took them a couple days to get back. Now, if I sent someone to Perm, it might take them 3 months to get out there and back. So That's not a big... Travel time's not a big deal, but if you only have 2 diplomats and someone's on a 100-day mission, you might be stuck sitting around. Vassal force limit contribution. That means my vassals can contribute twice as many troops to the cause, and then once you finish, you get unjustified demands. Not a big deal. But let's look at Diplo ideas. So we got an extra diplomat, so that would give us 4. Diplomatic relations, which is different from diplomatic reputation. Cost for reducing war exhaustion. So when you're at war, I can actually find that right now for you. When you're at war, so you can see all the negatives you get from being at war for long periods of time. So that was a really short war, and I got 10% of my total war exhaustion. So that ticks up pretty quickly. You could spend some points to reduce it. That would make it cost less money. I can improve, this one gives me increased improved relations, so I can improve relations with countries faster. Provincial war score cost. This would allow me to take more land in wars before it becomes like cost prohibitive. And this would give me a 10% discount to all diplotechs. And then, let's see, what is the finisher here? Lowered impact on stability for diplomatic actions. Ah, yes. So this would lower the impact. So I think this reduces what the, you being a shithead modifier from 2 stab to 1 stab. I don't know if it completely knocks it off, but when I declared war on Wallachia, I had to pay 2 stability because I didn't have a good reason to go to war with them. That reduces that cost. That's interesting. So we got this diplomatic and influence. Don't look too bad. But we do have the most admin points, don't we? We have the most admin points. So we have a couple things we can go with right off the bat. We can take expansion off, because a lot of it has to do with colonists, and we don't have any ships, we can't send anybody out. Economic, that's not going to affect us too much. Tax modifier, cool. This is a good one, overall one. You can always take this one. Inflation reduction, that's nice. Means that you don't have as much inflation to deal with. I should have a little bit right now. Interest per annum, that means you pay less interest on loans. Autonomy changes. We showed autonomy in the UI, but it is right here. So if you go over here, oh, there's no unrest. No, there's no unrest, but there is high autonomy. So these provinces are 99.9% autonomous, which means they provide nearly nothing to their overlord. Only a little bit of trade, but nothing else. You can see minus 100% modifiers to anything. Go to my personal land, autonomy of 0, all those modifiers are gone. They give me all their money, all of their trade, all of their production. It all goes to me. So that an autonomy ticks down by itself over time. 0.1% per month. So 1.2% per year. So it takes a while to go down. I mean, you can force it down with one of these buttons. You can increase it or decrease it by 25%, but that really pisses people off. So that makes that tick down. Land maintenance modifier. Troops cost 10% less to keep in the field. Production efficiency. That's going to mean I produce 10% more goods, more money. And then development cost. That means every single time I decide I want to develop one of my provinces into a more bustling region, it costs 20% less power points. That's a very, very good idea group. So possible. Now, religion ideas, I'm not going to go over these individually, but you can see missionary strength, tolerance, prestige, missionary versus heretics. It basically makes it much easier for you to convert provinces from whatever religion they are to your religion. So if you really want to force people to be your religion, that's a good one. Humanist is kind of the opposite tract. This is basically you saying, I accept all religions and all cultures, and we can all live in harmony. So other religions and all other cultures can live in your empire without causing havoc. So if you plan on being very multicultural, this is a great idea. If you plan on really forcing everybody to toe the line, religious ideas are good. I'm thinking religious ideas might be a good way to go because we've got some, so we're Catholic. We answer to the Pope right now. We got some Orthodox in here, don't we? And I don't think we can switch. No, I can't switch to Orthodox manually. Very interesting indeed. What else we got? Admin ideas. This was a pretty stock one. This one's really good if you plan on hiring lots of mercenaries, so they cost less. Core creation costs less. Whenever you take land, you have to pay admin points to basically claim it as your own. Mercenary maintenance, so that is... that's cost to hire them, cost to maintain them. Interest per annum, available mercenaries, so there's more available to hire. Number of advisors, that is... who's it's? These guys, so you have more to choose from. So right now I only have 2. Maybe get some more to choose from, that'd be nice. More options. And what were we? Here, admin tech cost, always good. And number of states +5. That's really more of a thing you want to take if you plan on having a large sprawling empire. I'm pretty small still, pretty small. And innovative is pretty across the board, just good everywhere. Your prestige decays out in less time, mercs cost less. Tech cost down across the board. Institution embracement cost down. Number of advisors, inflation reduction, war exhaustion ticks down faster, more leaders, and advisor costs. So right now I'm thinking innovative, taking innovative first because this tech cost, that means once I get this, every single time I go to tech up, it costs 10% less. That's like what, 40, 50, 60? I think it's base 600, 500, so it's like 50 give or take points that would save me every single time I tech up. And there's like 90 techs ahead of me, 80, maybe 80 techs ahead of me. So that adds up. So, but religious is cool too. That would help me convert the Catholics, but there's only a few Catholics. They're not really causing that much issue, are they? So why don't we go ahead? Let's take innovative. We unlock the innovative idea group. Now we have another place to spend our points, which is, as you can see, as you go into the game, you learn that all these PowerPoints, that is the commodity at hand. That is what's going to really dictate what you can do with your nation. So now, just like with ideas, there's this little bar filling up. And this bar is going to tell me when I can unlock these ideas. So my first idea is Patron of the Arts, and it will give me prestige decay of 1%. So that means my prestige will decay out slower. Because like I was saying before, your prestige wants to stay pretty low. It wants to stay around like 10 or so. So if you get it up to 100, it'll decay out pretty fast. But with that, with Patron of the Arts, decay out slower. But let's unpause the game. We spent about 15 minutes, 10, 12, 13 minutes going over our ideas there. And I only showed you, I only went in depth over a few of them. I didn't touch any of the military ones. This is there's not a right or wrong, well, I was going to say there's not a right or wrong way to do this. There is a wrong way. If I took, like, exploration or expansion when I can't touch the water, that'd be wrong. But a lot of these ideas, or naval or maritime, a lot of these ideas are very based on your flavor, your play style, what you want to do. Like, I've had games before where I immediately, as Poland, the alliances just fell my way. I was immediately able to attack the Teutonic Order. I took Danzig, grabbed exploration, explored the coastline or around towards Greenland, then took my colonists that I got here and started colonizing Canada, and I had a Polish colonial nation. You can do that, or you could go straight up military and send your Polish, your crack Polish troops marching across the world, or you could say, I really want to be a trader, and you can go with like trade and economic, and it's really up to you. Most people like to play a very militaristic game when they first start playing. And then when you get to a certain point where the military game isn't that difficult for you because you know how the modifiers work and you know how the alliance webs work and you're like, okay, I want to do something else. And then people start doing things like making going colony heavy, or going trade heavy, or doing strange things like taking your nations in opposite direction of historical routes or stuff like that. But it's all up to you. It's all up to your flavor and how you want to play the game. All right, so now we've got these angry people sitting around in this region. You can actually see that there's a little bit of unrest here. So let's march our troops over. That'll help get the unrest down a little bit. But you're also running a deficit now. And why we're running a deficit? It's because our military's maintenance is high. We have a lot of troops. We don't really have the economy to terribly support that. You know where we could save our money, though? Is we don't need these forts up. So we hit the mothball button. Next month we'll be in the positive just by a little bit. Let's watch it tick over into the year of our Lord, 1456. It's going to be just in the positive by a couple points there. Not too much, but it's there. And we do have the money we stole from Wallachia, well, was bequeathed to us in the peace deal, as it were. We could invest it in some more taxes, or we do have access to this trade building in this marketplace. Now, Krakow, you see these little, every once in a while you'll see these little baubles here, these little buttons. Then it'll tell you that a specific province has a modifier on it. Now, Krakow is an inland center of trade, which means it has more trade power here. Local trade power plus 10. And because of that, Krakow is a good place to maybe build a marketplace. And you can see here is that our trade power, if we spend 100 ducats and built the marketplace in Krakow, would go up by nearly 7.5 points. If we built it in Przemysl down here, only go up by 0.7, so it's much more beneficial to put it in right here. And what that's going to do is that's going to change the amount of trade power. How much of the trading Krakow node, these are the trade nodes, I'm on trade map mode, I control. So right now you can see I control 33% of this node. That's going to increase that by a few percentage points. So I'll overall make a little bit more money because I control more of the trade in this region. But there is something else I wanted to go over, and I believe we'll be able to do it in this episode. And that is peacefully expanding. We expanded Moldavia down here through acts of war. But what if we wanted to peacefully annex someone? Now, these guys already answer to me. They're my vassal. You can see right here we have an annex vassal button. But they need to really like me. So what we need to do first, it's grayed out. So your vassal needs to have an opinion of 190. It's 103. So we're going to go to relations, and we're going to send one of our free diplomats over here to Mazovia to improve our relations. And you can see right here, the relations can be improved by 171. They're already at 103, and that's caps out at 200, so we can easily get it above that 190 it asked for. So let's speed up and wait till it gets to 190. All right, so we're not quite there yet, but something else is about to happen. So we got our rebel faction here at 90%, and you can see it's got a list of provinces, these 4 right here, that are contributing to that, because they all have a small chance, a small revolt risk, a little bit of unrest in those provinces, mostly because they're culturally and religiously different than me. Now, there is a 10% chance that those rebels will get their faction up to 100% and the rebels will fire. So we're going to let that happen. We're going to allow the rebels to fire so you can see what it looks like. And we're just going to, let's put this on speed 4. And hopefully the rebels fire soon, while we're waiting for our diplomat to increase our relationship with our vassal. It's not going to be that big of a deal. So the GM supports Zygmunt von Wetten for the throne. Not a big deal. Poland has a unique government type, an elective monarchy. So basically, all these people have valid claims on the throne. You can see my heir, Vladislav. He's a 533. He's a very good heir. But he's a couple points down the list, and you can bump him up the list by clicking this button and spending prestige. But I don't have this prestige to spend right now. So Zygmunt is my current heir. I have a foreign heir. There are other countries we will risk of falling under that country's influence. I've actually never had that happen, so that happened in my tutorial series. That'd be mighty interesting. Oh my. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Innovation wave of just a generally good event hits. Just admin tech minus 5% for everything for the next 10 years. Very nice. But we have our rebels. 19,000 rebels with a pretty shitty general. He's a 1-pip general. 1 fire, nothing else. 13,000 infantry, 6,000 cavalry, and they have bippity booped up right there. So what we're going to do is move my troops up here. Now, I easily could have prevented this from happening by, you know, just kind of massaging tensions and stationing troops in the region, but I actually wanted it to hit. Just so that you can see what happens now. Normally, you just want to kill rebels. Sometimes rebels are too strong, and they got the handle on you, and you can click on handle them, and it gives you a list of things that you can do to potentially get rid of them. You can boost your stability, reduces unrest, you can accept their demands, but in this state, in this instance, this whole state would be granted its independence. They would all break away from Poland, so it's not a good idea. Or you could send in missionaries because the religious unrest is kind of what's is causing some issue. But none of those seem like valid options, so we're just going to have to put this down by force. So we're going to take our units and we're going to march them in. Now this guy's not going to get a crossing penalty because there's no river there, so I'm going to let him go in first. And then we're going to send this one in. He'll arrive the first. Nope. I need this guy to arrive first. That way we don't take that crossing penalty. So this guy will arrive, start the battle with no negative modifier for the river crossing. Then this guy will support him. But I am getting a -1 because we are fighting in the woods. But if I took the river crossing as well, I'd get -2. This kind of goes back to whoever got to the province first gets the modifier if it's an open battle. If it's an open field battle, I'm taking the negative because I'm attacking him. In theory, he's got the advantageous position. He's got the choice of terrain, so he can choose where he wants to put his men, and I'm at a slight disadvantage. And there's no retreat available until October 14th. You can retreat from battles by clicking on another province, but only once this goes away. So if you think a battle is going against you, you can get away from it. So here you could see we rolled 0, which I always thought was very, very hilarious. I thought that was the first time I saw it, I laughed my butt off because I've always been, you know, like especially since I've been doing YouTube, I've always been known for having bad luck. But the first time I saw, like it's a picture of a die. And I'm like, okay, a 14-sided die. That's a very strange number of sides on a die. But whatever, it's digital, it doesn't matter. And then I rolled a 0. I was like, oh, yay, I rolled a 0 on a die. There's a 0 on this die. I just thought that was funny. So, modifiers. I rolled a 0. I have 4 from the general. I had that 4 pip shock general. And then -1 because I'm attacking into woods for a total of 3. But he only rolled a 1. So even with my negative modifier, I did better than him. And then here, I rolled a 4, -1 for 3, and he rolled a 0. So again, I'm doing better than him. You can see I only lost 7 men, but he lost 208. And the battle continues like this. So I rolled another 0. He rolled another 1. So very low rolls here. I have a 1 and a -1 for a total of 0. So I'm losing more men than him. Okay, and now this is going to be the turning point in this battle, probably. Even though I knew I was going to win. I rolled a 7 plus a 4 for a total of 11 on shock. I have way more Cav than him. Cav is really good at shock, and his morale is already low. So he's going to lose a lot of men, and his morale is going to plummet, and then the battle will end. Yeah, he lost a lot of morale there. There we go. So we lost 4,000 and 2,000. There's no retreat from this battle. So even though those men died, the entire stack is gone, and the rebellion is over. Now, replacing those men is going to come out of our pool here. And if you go to these provinces, they now have no unrest because all the people who were angry are dead. So we have a -100 modifier to unrest. And I believe that lasts for either 5 or 10 years. I want to say 10, but I'm not sure. Not sure there. And I think we have enough points for our first idea. We do. So, in terms of point conservation, we have a really good gain of 10. We don't need to use it on admin technology right now because we'd be taking a huge head penalty. We don't have any lands to core because we're not doing any aggressive actions right now. So it's perfectly safe for me to say, let's spend these points to get our first idea. So we're going to click this button right here, confirm it. And now we have a prestige decay of -1. So you can see patron of the arts on right there. That's double the base decay rate. So now normally base decay is, oh, sorry, I misspoke there. Normally the prestige decays out base of 5%. I believe that's per year. Is it per year or per month? I don't really know. It changes. But because I'm a great power, because I'm Poland, started out pretty great, I get an extra percentage knocked off of that. And because I'm a patron of the arts, I get an additional percentage knocked off of that. So now, while everybody else is decaying at like 5%, I'm decaying at 3%. So I get to keep the prestige I earn longer. And you can actually see a little tiny bar starting to creep up here too. Every single time you unlock 3, we talked about that before, you get one of your national ideas, which are usually really, really powerful. So when I unlock pragmatism and the scientific revolution, that will also unlock promote the folwark system, which increase my production efficiency by 10%, which will give me more money, which is going to be pretty cool. But I think now we're going to we're almost to the point where I was, what I wanted to do in this video, and that was peacefully absorb another state. Perm has been discovered. That's these guys way over here. Yeah, you bastards. How dare you? Oh, now that we don't have any military action, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my military. I'm going to make sure we mothball the forts. I'm going to go to my economic tab. I'm going to run this all the way down, most of the way. I'm going to leave them just a little bit, because if you drop it all the way down, they won't reinforce. They won't go back up to full strength. Interesting. We have enough Diplo points to tech up in diplomacy. Interesting indeed. Now, that's going to cost 7% extra, because the Renaissance popped almost a decade ago, and it probably has not moved very far. Let's actually take a look. Oops. Hang on a sec. Let's grab a province. Click on Renaissance here. So in the 9 years since it's popped, it's spread from Naples kind of up and down Italy and into Venice. And it spreads faster if you're touching someone who already has it. So as you can see, it's spreading pretty quickly into Austria. And then it'll kind of come up to me, but it's not spreading too fast in my land. Should I wait for it? Should I wait for it? Or should I try to move it along? I think we'll wait for it. 7% is not that much. It's not costing us too much extra. So what I'm going to do, and because we're actually a little behind the times, so we're taking a -5 and a +7, so it's really only +2. And we're going to take this diplomatic technology. Trade range goes up, trade efficiency goes up, naval maintenance goes up. Doesn't really mean a lot to me. I'm not doing a lot of training, and I don't have a navy. But it's still good to keep up with the times. Because if you get too unbalanced, like if you get more than 2 techs ahead, so let's say I have a 4 here. If I go up to 7 in admin, you start gaining corruption. You get a base corruption tick. It goes up because the research is imbalanced, and that's how they didn't want. You used to be able to do that. You could just be like military, 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 and get 10 techs up on military. But they didn't want people to doing that, so they balanced it out by saying, hey, if you get too unbalanced, your corruption goes up, and you really don't want corruption. And we are 1 more month. We're going to be where we need to be. All right, so let's give the game a pause. Let's click on Mazovia here and go to Influence, and we're going to click on Annex Vassal. So, this will start the diplomatic annexation costs. We call it Diplo Annex. It is estimated to be done September of 1463, so 4 years, and will cost 5 Diplo points per month. So I have a +7, so that'll drop it down to +2, but I'll work on diplomatically annexing these 4 provinces into Poland, which means I will directly control them. And I'm going to hit confirm. And then what we're going to do is I'm just going to speed through off screen until we're just about done with this. Okay, so we are almost there. They are 98% annexed. And before we were talking about diplomatic reputation and diplomatic relations, diplomatic reputation affects things like this, makes them go a little bit faster. You can see on the breakdown there, adds +2 to it. And there we are. Let's give the game a pause, integrating Mazovia. When a smaller country gives up its independence to join a greater realm, there is a lot of adapting, and while some parts are easy, the administration in the realm will still need to expand to accommodate all possibilities. So for 10 years after doing this, you get diplomatic reputation -3. So it kind of prevents you from just chain annexing people left and right. It's kind of about a 10-year waiting process between when you can do it, which is great for me. But now, as you can see, their army is mine and answers to me. And all of that land answers to me as well, including their fort, which for now we are going to take down. Sometimes it's great to have vassals. Some people really like it. The bad thing about vassals is that their AI is not that great. So even if you tell them very specifically, like you can, if you click this button right here, friendlies can attach. Friendly armies will just follow you around. And then if you go in here to subjects and you tell them to support you, sometimes they'll just stand around doing nothing. If you tell them to siege, sometimes they'll run around like a chicken with their head cut off. The AI could, one of my favorite things for them to do is, like, if I was engaged in battle here and this was an allied army, they would just walk past the battle and then off into the distance to go do something else rather than helping with the battle. I had that happen a lot. So a lot of people don't like having vassals just because they'd rather have proper control. Or what some people do is they use diplomatic annexation to bring regions into your country without having to pay admin cost. Because these admin points you have to use to core a province, which I haven't had to show you yet. But whenever you, if say I take Chelmno here, I'd have to pay like maybe 60 admin points to core it and, you know, claim it as my own. It's one of my core regions that I now control. But if you Diplo Annex them, you're never paying admin, you're paying Diplo. So it's a good way to try to balance out the expenditure of your currency by doing it that way. So I took all of that land for myself without having to spend those admin points. It's pretty cool. And apparently a national decision has been unlocked. Very cool, a new pop-up. Move capital to Warsaw. So I have a claim on Warszawa. And I can click this button right here. So all I need to do is be at peace and have a core on it, which I do. I annexed it. It's mine now. My capital will move from Krakow to Warsaw. I gain prestige, and Warszawa gains one of each development. It gains base tax, base production, base manpower. So yes, I'm going to go ahead and do that. You can see my capital has now moved to Warsaw, which is pretty cool. It's not as developed as Krakow, but still very nice province. Still very good. Also, you know, free prestige, and that was, what, like 120 Diplo or PowerPoints worth of development that I got just for clicking on that button. Now that we have expanded our territory, see if we go to state map mode here, you can see we've got green, but we've also got yellow. Green is states. That's fully integrated areas of my country. Yellow is not. Yellow is territories. Yellow is areas that aren't going to pay you nearly as much taxes. They're not going to give you all their production and stuff like that because they're not really integrated into your nation. You own the land, but it's just a territory. It's not a state. You know what I mean? But if you have the room, and I do, there is a little tiny thing right here. Tells you how many total states you can have, how many you have, and how many territories you have. So I want to add these 3 provinces into my empire now. These are a proper Polish state. I click this little button right here. Mazovia is a territory. I click it, it turns it into a state. Now I will be paying an additional 1.8 ducats per month in state maintenance, but I will be getting 0.44 ducats a month in tax and production from them. So I net gain on money for doing this, which is good for me. And I believe, yeah, and it will get better over time. These 2 provinces, these 2 state counties, provinces, they have a pretty high autonomy of 60, which means a good portion of what they're producing is just staying at home. It's not coming to me. But as that decays out with time, they'll give me more taxes, and they'll give me more men, and they'll give me more of their production. Again, I could force it. That's going to really make some people unhappy, though. If you lower the autonomy by 25%, it raises the unrest by 10. So people get very angry if you do that. And before we go, we have enough points for another idea. So I'm going to pop over here, go to our innovative ideas, and click on the next one on the list, pragmatism. It asks me to confirm my PowerPoint expenditure. And now that one's not a big deal for me because I don't have any mercenaries in my army right now. But that means I can bring them in for a little bit less money. And then just another 170 admin PowerPoints will unlock the scientific revolution, which will get me a huge discount on technology and embracing institutions. But it'll also unlock promote the full work system, which will get me a production efficiency gain, and that will get me more money as well. So very much looking forward to that one. We're going to call it an episode here, though, folks. We went over mostly ideas. We went over a little bit of diplomatic stuff, but mostly Diplo annexing nations. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have learned something, and I hope you're able to further enjoy the game thanks to this. And I'll see all of you next time.